Well, hello and good evening to you. Welcome. This is Ghana Tonight. We are live on News About Desawe and Kanda, also live on TV3 Ghana on Facebook, DSV channel 279, all across the world on trainees.com. I am Alfred Okanse. Tonight, let's get into straight matters arising as resetting Ghana, jobs, accountability and prosperity. That's how the National Democratic Congress, NDC, calls their policy document, the Manifesto, with which they intend to sign a social contract with Ghanaians for their mandate. But what is in there for you? We have some analysis of it, sector by sector. Still us also interrogate the timing, motive, success or otherwise of Vice President Dr. Bawumia, that's the flag bearer of the NPP, his encounter with the media yesterday. Stay with us. We have a conversation on Ghana Tonight. Also here on your election command center, both the governing New Patriotic Party and the opposition NDC have laid bare their cards, indicating what they intend to do should they come to power. Tonight on Manifesto Check, we assess what the two parties have in common in the education sector specifically. This is your election command center. As always, you're an integral part of the conversation. Let's hear from you. The hashtag we're using is Ghana Tonight on Facebook and on X. Let's get talking. Well, let's settle for Ghana Briefs.
In the face of an unprecedented drought threatening Ghana's agriculture, the government has declared a state of emergency, revealing staggering losses of over 22 billion Ghana cedis in potential revenue. As nearly 1 million farmers face dire circumstances, the Ministry of Food and Agriculture has outlined urgent interventions to avert a looming food security crisis.
With immediate effect, government is placing a ban on the export of grains, including maize, rice, soybean, until the situation normalizes. This measure is essential to ensure the availability of these critical crops on the domestic market.
The Accra-Tema motorway has become a death trap due to poor visibility at night, compounding the already deteriorated highway. In our first in the series of Fix the Streets Lights campaign, we put the focus on the 19.5-kilometer stretch, which does not have a single street light, leading to frequent accidents and heightened theft cases. Member of Parliament for Northong, Samuel Okudzeto Ablakwa, has revealed that his constituents who were affected by the spillage of their Konsomo Dam will seek legal redress over government and VRA's failure to honor compensation packages due them. Over 12,000 people were displaced due to spillage of the dams in September 2023.
If government does not do something about compensation, we have spoken to our lawyers. We are headed to court because it is our right. Next month will be the first anniversary. So we have met and said that if by the first anniversary we don't get strong indication, we don't see actually the first group of people receiving compensation, then we have no choice but to resort to the courts.
Imagine dedicating 3 years to prepare for an exam that could determine your future, only to find yourself unable to sit for it. For some WASI students, this is now their reality after arriving late to the examination hall for their first core paper, Social Studies. The consequences could be severe, with their chances of pursuing tertiary education now hanging by a thread.
I'm from a far place, I'm from Dodowa, and then there's traffic on the way, so it's not deliberately that I want to come late. I know I have exams, I have to come early, but there's traffic on the way, I can't do anything about it. Then it rained over there too, so when it rains there's traffic on the way. I'm trying to beg the senior vigilator to make us right.
This was their first time, and they have come over an hour after the start of the show. I cannot see any of the other people. I'm not happy about it, but this is the situation I find myself.
The Association of Oil Marketing Companies has criticized the National Petroleum Authority (NPA) for revoking the licenses of 13 oil marketing companies over unpaid debt. According to the association, the focus should rather be on recouping the needed funds.
NPA do have the data of the directors. So why would boss go to national security for those things? The regulator does due diligence before awarding any certificate. We don't just need to revoke their license. Whatever debt they owe, they need to pay back because it's a government money. At the end of the day, if they come into business, they make their part of the revenue and they keep the government's share and the alliance have been revoked or liquidated and they walk away for free. I mean, that's not right. It's not done anywhere.
There's more news on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. This is Ghana Tonight. Coming up next, what's your assessment of the Vice President and the NPP flag bearer, Dr. Bawumia's encounter with the media yesterday? A number of you have already been commenting about it on social media. We engage the political marketing strategists and also you, the Ghanaian people, who also watched and listened to the Vice President on exactly what he had to say when the media put a plethora of questions to him. Well, in furtherance of the new patriotic party's 2024 manifesto, the Vice President and the flag bearer of the new patriotic party, Dr. Bawumia, opened himself up to the media to be questioned in a media engagement. There's been a number of issues that are coming out of it, which will also be engaging you, the member general public, on. He answered questions on various sectors of the economy, including questions on his vision, and then also some comments about what really his role is in terms of the management of the economy, especially because of that fundamental question about he not talking about the state of the economy that much. Let's hear from him the specific answer he gave to that question about his role in the economic management team and what he had to say about the state of the economy and whether government can be blamed for that. Take a look.
I seriously believe that statement, that we have failed. Of course, we've had challenges. Nobody can say we haven't had challenges. We have had challenges, serious challenges that have kept me up at night. In 2022, that was the horrible year for us, 2022. Petrol prices went up to 23 cedis per liter. We were losing reserves so badly, and you saw food prices going up and all of that. That was a real challenge that we had to deal with. And this is how we came up with the whole gold for oil, gold purchase program, and that has really helped us. Today, Ghana, notwithstanding all the challenges, we are the 10th lowest priced in terms of petroleum in Africa, the whole of Africa. Ghana is number 10 in those of lowest prices of petroleum products.
And in fact, this comment about the Gold for Oil program also has generated some conversation, which we will be getting into. In fact, this is an evolving conversation, not stuck to just today. But then again, we put a question to you because he was not only communicating to the media or the journalists who had gathered there, but then also to the Ghanaian people through the questions that the media asked. So one of the objectives for many who looked at the timing of this media encounter was coming just after the NDC Manifesto launch. To many who looked at it, they said, you know what, this was going to be a strategy of getting the NPP to overshadow the NDC's Manifesto launch and be the talking point. Was that achieved? Which one of them got much of your attention? So that's a question we put on X, on TV3 Ghana on X. Take a look at this. It says, which of these events got your attention the most, especially bearing in mind that objective of whether or not this media engagement was able to drown the NDC Manifesto launch. Over 2,000 of you, 2,066 of you voted within this 1 hour, 16 minutes that we put this up. In fact, that poll is running. If you go on our X page on TV3 Ghana on X, this poll is still there. You can contribute to it. Out of the 2,066 of you, 78% of you say the NDC Manifesto launch still got your attention and got you engaged. And 22% of you who responded to our poll say, well, Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia's engagement got your attention the most. So that's there. It's telling. And this is the effect of it. 78% of you say, well, yes, it was the NDC Manifesto launch which you're still engaged on. So did this objective get achieved of drowning the NDC Manifesto launch in terms of conversations in the media and then also amongst the Ghanaian people? That's what you see on the screen there. The evidence is right there for you. But our colleague, Bella Mundi, also was at the event yesterday, asked a question about some arrears owed the trainees of the Nation Builders Corps. We call them NABCO. And this was the Vice President's response to that question. Take a look.
In the arrears that have been owed to NABCO. I think that the program had about 100,000 people on it, and I think initially it was supposed to be a 3-year program, and then would be renewed and so on. But I think that so far, out of the 100,000 that were taken, 34,000 have exited into permanent jobs under NABCO, and the others are still. But I think that the issue that Bella raises is the arrears and how we are going to deal with it. I've raised this issue because this is not really there's some information that has come to me already about the arrears in the NABCO program, and I've raised this issue with the Minister for Finance and trying to persuade them to make these arrears payments. So we will follow that up on behalf of the NABCO employees.
Well, so that's Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia's response to Bella Mundi's question about the NABCO trainees arrears. 9 months arrears. But let's keep them honest, shall we? You heard what the Vice President said, that this had come to his notice and he's working with the Finance Ministry to get them paid. Well, guess what? In June this year, just 3 months ago, the Vice President on his campaign tour was confronted with this same question about the NABCO trainees arrears, and he said the same thing. This same answer that he gave yesterday was the same answer 3 months ago. Take a look.
We've had them working for about 4 years, about 100,000 people. So far, to them over the 4 years, over 4 billion or 3-point-something billion Ghana cedis. So, but said the program no ND, we still owe some stipends. They will be paid. I'm going to push for the Ministry of Finance to pay those stipends to the NABCO people.
So June, July, August, 3 months, same script. Let's keep them honest. How are these NABCO trainees taking this repeated answer verbatim, as we heard from the Vice President? 3 months interval. Eric Nanatechi leads the Nation Builders Corps, that's NABCO trainees, coalition of NABCO trainees, is joining us. Eric, appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. Yet another promise, same script from the Vice President 3 months ago. What you heard yesterday about the promise to have the Finance Minister and all of that work through it to pay you. How does it strike you?
Thank you very much, and let me extend my warm greetings to your viewers and that of former NABCO beneficiaries. I watched the program yesterday, and then the comment made by Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is not, something that we can build our confidence in, because that has been his usual rhetorics. If you would remember, just 2nd June, when he met the voter region chiefs, one of the sub-chiefs asked him directly when NABCO beneficiaries will be paid. And he answered by saying that his outfit would collaborate with the finance ministry to make sure that the arrears that have characterized the scheme are paid. What happened? Nothing happened. And yesterday, when he was asked the same question, he then repeated the answer that he gave to the chief, that his outfit will collaborate with the finance ministry to make sure the arrears are settled. And so the former NABCO beneficiaries have come to a realization that His Excellency the Vice President seems to epitomize the seat leadership, because the letter that we had from the finance ministry, if you remember, indicated clearly that since he made the solemn promise to collaborate with the finance ministry, he has not made any attempt or whatsoever to judge with the finance ministry to, come out with realistic measures that can be put forth to make sure these arrears are settled. And so the comments he made, there is no way NABCO beneficiaries will associate their trust in that. What we are expecting is that the arrears or these monies are processed and hit our accounts. Anything from Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia is not something that we believe.
I see. Then we had some information that you were going to picket at the Jubilee House because of at the frontage of the Jubilee House because of this arrears that you're owed 9 months, we're told. This assurance or reassurance from the Vice President yesterday that he's working with the Finance Ministry to get you paid these 9 months arrears, is it going to persuade you in any way to not go ahead with this picketing?
Yeah, very well. As I speak to you, we have submitted a notification letter to the Greater Accra Police Regional Police Commander, and probably Thursday we are going to meet the Greater Accra Regional Police Commander to have a discussion with him to permit us to have picketing at the forecourt of the finance ministry and that of the presidency, Jubilee House. And so the comments made by Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia with regards to the areas that have overwhelmed the scheme is not going to stop us from pursuing the agenda that we have already set. Unless the monies hit our accounts, nothing will stop us. We can't associate our trust in him anymore, because he made the same promise on 2nd June 2024 when he met the chiefs during his regional tour at voter region, and nothing tangible happened.
Okay. Eric, appreciate your time. Thank you. And this is one we'll keep an eye on, see how things play out. Eric Nanatechi speaks for the coalition of NABCO trainees, joining us here on Ghana Tonight. Let's stay a bit further on this media encounter yesterday and matters arising. You recall that there's been a number of questions about why the Vice President, who is the flag bearer of the NPP, is not doing some of the things that he is promising he will do if elected as president. For instance, abolishing e-levy, the betting tax, and so on. The question is, his sitting Vice President, a number of you have been asking, do it now, show commitment now, so that we can trust that you would do it if you become president. Well, there was a question that was asked of him yesterday, and this was his response.
The other issue was that we wanted to do these tax reforms, import duty, flat tax, tax amnesty, and so on. But why don't I do it now? And why do I want to? I must have a manifesto. Otherwise, if I do everything now, if I could, what would I do when I come into office? I mean, how can you do everything now? Even President Mahama, former president, who was president, I'm only vice president, but he was president. Why didn't he do everything then? I mean, why is he coming back? He had full authority. I don't have full authority. The budget that has gone to Parliament, which has been passed, is not my budget. Is it my budget? It's not my budget. The budget goes in the name of the president. It doesn't go in the name of the vice president. But when you have to think about what new do you want to do, you come up with new ideas. And I've come up with new ideas, which I want to do when we come into office. Everyone who is running for office, whether you are Kamala Harris or you are Bawumia, you still have to think about what you have to do when you get into office. And this is why I'm presenting my new ideas.
Well, that's Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia then, presenting new ideas. That's his response to the question about why is he not doing some of the things that he's promising now as sitting vice president and also the head of the economic management team. Professor Kobe Mensah is a political marketing strategist and also a lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. Now, he's joining us on Zoom as well. Professor Kobe Mensah, thank you for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. And you see this from the strategic point of view, even the timing for this encounter, and then also some of the answers given from where you sat, and then also the responses we've got from our poll on X, for instance, about whether this achieved the objective of getting people talking over and above what the NDC did on Saturday. From your analysis, were these objectives achieved? That was yesterday, that particular encounter.
Well, thank you so much, Alfred, for that. I mean, I had actually tweeted immediately the announcement came that it was a strategy to take the shine, off the NDC Manifesto launch. But of course, I think that from a strategy perspective, political parties can do that. I mean, I had always maintained as someone very deep in political marketing, the election is about strategy, and of course, when I say strategy, I don't mean foul means. I don't mean, what people think about when they talk about strategy as, stealing, etc. No, but I'm talking about genuine strategy. How do you counter your opposing parties' ways, whether it's about visibility, taking visibility away of them or from them, or whether it's about, strategically targeting certain segments of the electorate, etc. And so immediately they made that announcement, I could immediately tell, what the focus was. I mean, obviously, the NDC Manifesto was on Saturday. Clearly, the media, a large portion of the conversation would not be until Monday, obviously. So the front pages, etc., the newspaper reviews, etc., will be highly focused on the NDC. And so if they plug themselves into it, they can share the visibility. So clearly, if they organize on Sunday, then clearly on the Monday, they're going to share with the NDC the visibility, the publicity, etc. So immediately I saw that announcement, I knew that was a strategy, to counter the visibility, for the NDC. But as you asked the question, did they achieve it? I think they didn't. They didn't because, what actually transpired was not the kind of brand image people have for the NPP, particularly for Dr. Bawumia. I think that people expect a lot from him, but his delivery is a subpar. I don't think that anyone objectively can say that this is a performance expected of Dr. Bawumia. Someone we know, especially leading to 2016 elections, you would expect a much higher performance. But I don't think the performance went according to their own standards. And so you realize that the excitement wasn't there. And as a result, the sharing of the visibility or the publicity with NDC on the Monday, and, even to a much more larger extent, to outshine the NDC, couldn't actually happen. So I don't think that they achieved their purpose. Of course, they managed to insert themselves into the conversation, but the performance wasn't what they were expecting. And I think that the kind of conversation they expected for the Monday press is not what they got.
You talk about the performance, and I hear you stress about that a number of times. It's about how he answered the questions that were asked of him, or what he said, the how and the content of the answers he gave to the questions or the question that were asked in itself. I mean, how do you assess from the perspective the performance that you stress about?
Elaboration was overly done. I mean, your second question into the program was about, former president jabbing you about you being economic messiah, but not speaking the economic language anymore. That was the question. And, the idea that, they thought that, he could seize the moment, the opportunity to express himself and to perhaps give reasons why. But then he went overdrive for almost 20 minutes plus, and at some point it got so boring that even those, I am sure, his team were wondering why that long time dedicated for a particular question. I mean, it even got to a point where the one who was coordinating the program, which is Miracles, and I was surprised he did that. I mean, I would really, if I was the coordinator, of course, the campaign chairman, I would query him. You can't actually repudiate, or you can't actually tell your boss that you are speaking too much, and so you're going to time him. You can't do that. Even from a traditional perspective, all right? You have an elderly person, which of course he had gone overdrive, all right, as he did, and you're moderating the program. The best Miracle could have done was to go and speak into his ear and say, His Excellency, please, it was too long, so maybe tone down your timing, all right? But he actually repudiated him in front of the national audience and said, you are speaking too much, I'm going to time you. Really? And he said it as a joke, just like, the vice president himself says certain things as a joke and then he barely laughs about it, which you're not supposed to do that. Of course, there are certain instances where you can punch in a certain, light moment, for people to lighten up a little bit. But you have to look at the moments of saying that. So in the first place, he took too much time elaborating on something, but he didn't even answer the question. The question is, you're no longer speaking the economic issues that you used to speak. But he took it as a slight on him, for not performing economically. Of course, it's one angle of that. But the point is that why are you no longer talking about economics? So you had already said it in the past that digitalization perhaps seems the way to go. That could actually bring in the economic conversation better. Yes, you can say that. I no longer say bare facts, bare figures of economics, but I'm saying the same language, however, through a different means, digitalization. And that's why you don't see me talk about maybe the exchange rates, etc., because I think if we can solve the same problem through digitalization, short and simple. But he went in overdrive, talk about the former president doesn't know what he's talking about. His own economic performance is in shambles. Well, we know that. You've said that over and over again, because that's exactly what you said, on which we voted out the former president.
Right.
Must you remind us again? No, the conversation is, why aren't you speaking about the economic numbers anymore? And he went into over-elaboration. Okay, so I think that, yes, he over-elaborated. Two, some of the questions were a little bit surprising. I mean, for somebody to actually take the microphone, and it wasn't even a question, to say that I don't have a question, but I have praises for you. No matter what happens, you are the best vice president ever. Really? Is that why we actually organized that event? Just to heap praises on people? I was a little bit surprised. And then, of course, majority of the journalists have actually complained about the processes, that were used to actually organize the fact that people had to write to ask for permission or to be included, and they were rejected.
In fact, as said, this side of the conversation also continues. But then again, I want to ask your thoughts on one quick question, and then we'll move into, that would lead us into our next conversation here on Ghana Tonight. Now, the NDC and the NPP have both presented their social contract, the manifesto, policy document to us. And the messengers, I'm talking about the flag bearer of the NPP, was the sitting vice president, and then this situation of the economy we find ourselves in and what we've gone through, presenting himself and seeking to break the eight and then also break that cycle of the incumbency fatigue and so on. The former president, a flag bearer of the NDC, seeking a comeback, he's been there before. The message and the messenger, these two, which one of them is going to get the trust of the Ghanaian people?
It's about, relatability. It's about relevance, Clearly, the political system, people don't have faith in them, all right? The level of, apathy in this country is so high. The mistrust, amongst the voters on politicians, very high, you see. And so when it happens like that, the only measure that perhaps you could use to bring a certain semblance of persuasion, is about, can the voters actually relate to what you're saying? Could they actually see a certain practicality of what you're actually promising? And that's the measure, all right? If they can relate to it, if they can find a certain relevance to their lives, and they could find a certain practicality that this is doable, this is possible. Oh, this one, if they really, mean business, they can achieve it, and it is also relevant to our economic circumstances, etc. All right, that could be used as a tool to persuade the voters. All right. Right. But on the bare face of believability, trust, completely is gone. I mean, when you listen to voters, majority of the voters don't believe. And when I say voters, I don't mean the activists, the support bases, or the clear sympathizers of the political parties.
Of the two parties, indeed. In fact, this statement leads us to our next conversation, Professor Kobe Mensah is a political marketing strategist, a lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. Thank you for joining us here on Ghana Tonight. Coming up next, we delve into the details of the NDC's manifesto launch over the weekend, and that question about the offering they're making to the Ghanaian people, and whether indeed that will get the trust of the Ghanaian people is also another question that is on the table. After assessing whether or not this got the better side of the attention of people over and above what happened yesterday with the media encounter. At least we've seen what a number of you are saying. Well, we've summarized a number of aspects of the NDC's manifesto into bullet points. You find the full document on trainees.com. But in terms of the free items that the NDC is promising, we identified at least 10 of them at least. Then the taxes that they are scrapping or promising to scrap, 5 of them in total. And then a review of the tax handles, 3 of them, the tax handles that they have said they're going to review within the first 120 days. And if you did monitor, the flag bearer of the NDC presented a 120-day promise. So for the first 120-day in office, this is what he said he was going to do. And I want to run you through it shortly. Take a look at this. It's saying that in the next first 120 days in power, he's going to scrap e-levy, COVID levy, the 10% betting, the tax on betting winnings, the emissions levy, the import duty on vehicles and equipment imported into the country for industrial and agricultural purposes. He says he's going to scrap that within the first 120 days. A review of some of the tax handles and levies as well. The application of the price stabilization and recovery levy on fuel to cushion customers. In fact, the price stabilization is now 14 pesos per liter. So this promise is to review that. We want to find out exactly what that means, and rationalization of fees and charges at ports, and then also comprehensive reform of Ghana's VAT regime to provide relief for households and businesses, and many others that he talks about as well. So we see the specifics in there, and with the free items, the free primary health care, free tertiary education for persons with disability. You see this in the NPP Manifesto as well. No academic fee policy for all first-year students. That's what the major highlight for the NDC in terms of the promises in the education sector. And that was captured in the Youth Manifesto prior to the launch of the manifesto on Saturday. Let's hear from the former president, talk about a number of these things, and then we'll have a conversation on it. Take a look.
We'll put in place a robust code of conduct and standards for all government officials in line with the principles of ethical leadership, modesty, humility, integrity, and accountability. We will nominate all our cabinet ministers for parliamentary approval within the first 14 days in office. We would have named all our cabinet ministers. We will constitute the leanest and most efficient government in the history of the Fourth Republic in the first 90 days in office. We will hold a national economic dialogue to discuss the true state of the economy and prepare a homegrown fiscal consolidation program to guide the budget. Number 5, we'll commence the drafting of needed legal amendments and preparation for the implementation of the 24-hour economy policy under the office of the President. Number 6, we will establish an accelerated Export Development Council, which I will personally chair, to promote exports as part of a broader strategy for economic transformation. Number 7, we'll convene a national consultative conference on education with CHAS, NAGRAT, NAT, CCT, NAPS, CETAG, Vice Chancellors Ghana, PRINCOF, TEWU, UTAG, PTAs, students.
Well, that's the flag bearer of the NDC. Dr. Peter Bawumia Otokono is the chairman of the NDC 2024 Manifesto Planning Committee, and he did his job over the weekend, and also the spokesperson on the agric sector of the manifesto, as we saw outlined on Saturday. He's also the director of Inter-Party Civil Society Relations for the NDC. Quite a number of portfolios you hold there. Dr. Otokono, good evening. Thank you for joining us on Ghana Tonight.
Good evening, Alfred, and thanks for having me.
So you have a load on your hands with so many of these portfolios.
I had a number, but as there are chances, so you have to deliver enough.
I see. Now, when in the first 120 days, we focus on that for now because it's measurable. You say that you're promising to review the price stabilization and recovery levy. A quick one on that. If you say review, what do you mean? Because it's 14 pesos in the price build-up. Are you taking it off?
When we say review simply means you look at the pros and cons. You look at the merits and demerits. You look at the challenges that it imposes on the consumer and on the general economy. And you look at the possibility of adjusting in respect of addressing both the challenges or the merits as they may be. And so review can take so many forms. But essentially, the thing about fuel pricing in Ghana is the challenge of unstable prices and the high cost which impacts inflation and all that. And so when we talk about review, we are looking at either reducing or eliminating that aspects of the price build-up so that it will bring convenience and comfort to the consumer.
So the only relief to the consumer, if you, I take it from the last part you ended, the only relief that the review will bring to the consumer is you removing it or reducing it from 14 pesos to something lower or taking it off entirely. Is it not? Essentially
the point. And so the intention is to bring relief to the consumer. And as may be the case for all our policy proposals we have made, both within the 120 days and both within the also within the main manifesto, is to bring relief to the ordinary Ghanaian. Fundamentally, public policy is supposed to target the comfort of the ordinary citizen, and also not only the comfort, but also the improvement in the living quality or the living standards of the people. And so to improve the quality of life, it means that the value of the Ghanaian worker, the disposable income of the Ghanaian worker should be worth what the service they perform to the state. And so if that is the case, then such reviews are very critical to improve the purchasing power of the ordinary Ghanaian.
So, and this is within the first 120 days. And if you're going to review it downwards, it means it's going to lead to government losing revenue, because these taxes on the price build-up on the fuel that we buy is one of the major revenue sources for government. In addition to this, you are promising within the 120 days to remove a number of taxes. I'm going to put that on the screen right now. E-levy, tax on betting winnings, COVID levy, emissions levy. You are promising to take all of this, and that's also going to impact on government revenue. But then again, indeed, within that period, you are also saying that you are going to organize an economic dialogue to know the true state of the economy. So is that to say that you do not know the true state of the economy, but now still promising to scrap all of these taxes which will lead to loss of revenue before you know the true state of the economy?
Well, Alfred, the economic dialogue is not to know the true state of the economy, because the dialogue will not bring you the true state of the economy. The true state of the economy will be provided by statistics. It will be provided by numbers. It will be provided by available data. What the stakeholder engagement will do would help to digest the data and see how you can use that data and build upon the data and design proposals and policies that will strengthen and improve the data. If the data is deplorable, how to recover, how to, as it were, build the data to a sustainable level to accelerate economic growth. And that's what a stakeholder engagement is about. And this is not the first time we are going to have such an economic dialogue. We had same in 2014 at Senchi, and I was part of those who met at Senchi, and we came up with very significant, very formidable, robust documents that became the foundation for even the agreements that we had with IMF, because then our homegrown measures have started kicking in, and it was working very functional and efficiently before we went to the IMF for the extended credit facility. And so when you look at that and you just oppose to the economic forum that we are talking about, we are going to ride on the gains that we made in 2014 based on that national dialogue on the economy. And we believe that this would bring a lot of ideas, diversified ideas from various backgrounds, various technicians, various technical people, various experts, to find a collective solution, a collective but more effective solution that will accelerate us to recover the deteriorated economy that the NPP is going to hand over to us 7th January 2024.
I see, and you can prosecute this agenda of reviving this deteriorated economy, as you said there, with all of these taxes off, which is going to impact on government revenue?
We are heavily confident, Alfred, that we can recover this country from the quagmire that the NPP and Bawumia have sent this economy into, particularly because in the last 4 years, we have been doing a thorough work on the policy alternatives that would save us. And from our assessment, we have realized that these nuisance taxes, if you want, are some of the reasons why we are not performing in revenue collection, because the overloading of taxes also brings the problem of non-compliance. And mainly our challenge of revenue generation has been non-compliance. And we believe that when we drop these taxes and we improve on the compliance measures and expand our tax net, improve the tax effort, we would be able to generate enough revenue to deal with all the issues and all the promises that we have made. And make no mistake, Alfred, I say this repeatedly, but every single policy in our manifesto has been carefully considered, and the implications, both financial, economic, social, and political, has been carefully considered before those policies are being made. For example, COVID-19, yield levy, the emissions levy, and all the levies that we are hoping to scrap. We believe that their contribution to the revenue generation and the counter effects that it has on the quality of life of people, and for that matter, the living standard of people and the price levels in the country and the cost of doing business is more significant and debilitating than removing them completely from the tax regime. And we believe that when we are able to do that, it would enhance compliance, it will enhance the involvement of other, tax players, such that we would be able to increase our revenue. Remember that is not the only thing that would give you enough revenue to do the other required activities. Also, very important is fiscal consolidation. Yes, it's also fiscal consolidation. And fiscal consolidation means cutting out the wasteful expenditure and creating fiscal space for the relevant things and the relevant investments. And even if you have a limited fiscal space, where you do the investment, how you direct your expenditure is very key in the performance of the economy. And those are the things that we believe would have more exponential effect. Those are the things that we believe would have more.
I tell you what, in the coming days, we've spoken. In the coming days, we're going to have a lot more conversation on this and various aspects of this manifesto. We focus on the 120 days promise today. But Dr. Peter Bawumia, I appreciate your time on this matter. But coming up next is Manifesto Check. Well, different parties, different manifestos, same content, you would say, Dennis?
Well, not exactly same content, but some similarities. So today we decided to go into a mass room class to do what we call the common denominators. So when you pick the NPP Manifesto, you pick the NDC Manifesto, even though they try to espouse different ideas, there are some things that you find that they run through them. And even with that, they still have some... there are unique ways of wanting to do exactly the same thing.
Good stuff.
But tonight, our focus is going to be on the education sector.
Great.
That's because it's one of the sectors that both parties spent quite some time trying to elaborate some ideas as to how to fix what they say are the challenges in there. But when it comes to the education sector, the NPP, for instance, they say that they want to eliminate all barriers at all levels. The NDC says that they want to reset the educational sector in collaboration with stakeholders. So that is the premise or the broad agenda for that category or that sector. But when it comes to specifics, you would find that both the NDC and the NPP make promises in respect of the free senior high school. There's been a long-standing conversation as to whether when the NDC gets the opportunity to rule the country, they would review, and that review had been interpreted to mean cancel. But now they put that to paper to say that for them, what they would do in respect of the free senior high school by way of a review is to abolish the double track, which is currently ongoing, and then extend the program to private senior high schools. So that's one of the things that stand out under the education when it comes to free senior high school. The NPP, also making a promise in a similar light, says that for them, they will continue to fund fully the policy and gradually phase out the double track. So when you look at this, I mean, they're essentially talking about the same thing, but different weights or different approaches. So when the NPP is talking about gradually phasing out the double track, they make the case that they need to invest massively in infrastructure, just so they are able to accommodate the growing numbers in the free senior high school. The other thing that also runs common when it comes to the education sector is their commitment to basic education. The NPP says that they're going to ensure compulsory early years and primary education. The NDC says that they are going to achieve full objective of the free compulsory universal basic education, FQ. And now, most of the the education think tanks have said that this has for a very long time been pushed to the back burner. And they seem excited that, the political parties have now committed to enforcing this particular policy.
Basic education going through some serious challenges as we speak.
Yes, because the conversation has been that all the focus has moved to the free senior high school and all that. So now that we are beginning to see that the parties are making commitment in their manifestos. When you look at tertiary education and in respect of accommodation, the NPP makes a promise that they're going to increase stock of student accommodation in public public tertiary institutions and public universities, yes. This, they say they will do so by investing and partnering with private individuals to build more hostels, just so they are able to deal with the no bed syndrome or no room syndrome, if I put it that way, in the universities. The NDC on the other side also has a policy that they say bed for all. In that case, they say affordable accommodation for tertiary education. It also comes in the same light of partnering with private persons who put up hostel facilities and other accommodation to accommodate students in the universities.
Collaboration, how less costly is it going to be? Because there are private hostels around the various universities, public universities, is it not?
Yes.
Some of them are charging as much as 6,000 Ghana cedis.
Right, that's right.
Every month.
But you see, when you read what the NDC is putting out, they indicate affordable. But of course, we need to interrogate how affordable that affordable would be.
Absolutely.
So that could be relative. But of course,
housing.
That is what the promise is. And in the coming days, we would want them to justify some of those figures. Now, when it comes to scholarships, the NPP says that they would integrate the scholarship databases across all public sector institutions that manage these schemes. So as it stands now, you have different scholarships under different public sectors. So they say that they'll integrate that and put them on one platform. The NDC on the other side, other hand, says that they will streamline and realign scholarships across multiple sectors. Essentially, they're talking about the same thing. So they see that there's a challenge when it comes to scholarships, and they want them to be streamlined, to be on one or to be managed by one platform. NDC goes to the point of even saying that this would, in the long run, eliminate what they say is corruption. And of course, we have heard about allegations of corruption in some of the scholarship schemes. The next has to do with the teachers' licensure exam. This is a very thorny issue.
That's right.
Different views. Now, for a very long time, the teachers and teacher trainees have not had it easy with this government because of the requirement that they have to write the licensure exam after school. Right. Now, the NPP says that, or the Bawumia NPP says that when they come to power in 2025, they would integrate the licensure exam as part of the teacher training program. This is what many are advocating for a very long time.
I see.
The NDC says that they will abolish the exam and then integrate it in the licensing process into the final year exam. This is also an idea that has been bandied around. So now we have it in the manifesto for both parties. Finally, this has to do with accommodation for teachers. Remember the NPP in their previous manifesto, that's 2020, they promised teachers affordable housing.
True.
We do not see that in that same fashion. Now, what we see is that they are going to provide them with an allowance as part of their conditions of service.
For accommodation.
And transport. The NDC on the other side say that they're going to institute what they call teacher dabre. No, this is supposed to be teacher abre, like teacher tatai. Project to provide accommodation for facilities for teachers.
Okay, so the dabre is a accommodation sort of. Dabre is the place of rest.
Oh, right.
Place of sleep.
Okay, sure.
So dabre. So I think that's what I get the understanding.
Yes, that's exactly what they're trying to say.
Right.
So we see that there's a promise for them to have accommodation for teachers, and on this particular one, there's a promise to provide an allowance for them. Now the question now becomes, what becomes of the promise in the 2020 manifesto? We have done that on manifesto check, so we know, we've heard from the teachers themselves who say they have not received that. Finally, computer placement. They think there's a problem with our current system. So they say placement assessment, selection placement system, they see SSPS. So essentially, these are the common denominators in respect of the NDC NPP manifesto. Some of them in respect of the education sector. Yes.
I know in the coming days you do for other sectors.
Yes, we will keep the steam on this to see how the other sectors also compare.
And I definitely trust you for this. Our viewers trust you too. Thank you. Dennis Boberi Wadam. My name is Alfred Okansi. On behalf of the rest of the team, do have a good night.